Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at 61st edition of Krakow Film Festival. My name is Artur Zaborski. I'm a film journalist and I have a great pleasure to host the Q&A session with Gorki Glaser-Müller, the director of the film Children of the Enemy. Hello, Gorki. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I have to start with the question about the beginning of your film. How did it all begin for you? When did you meet Patricia? Where the story begins for you?
I was acquainted to Patricia since more than 15 years, I think. So, and that was because me as a filmmaker, I had made a music video clip for his band, and also filmed, documented some kind of musical work with children that they had in a school here in Gothenburg, Sweden. So, but we were not friends, so to say, not close friends, more of acquaintance. So for me, it was a secret, as for most of his friends. It was just, he just had told about his daughter joining ISIS, and that she was dead was more of a family secret.
So when actually he spilled the bean out, when did you get this knowledge, and how it became the beginning of your film?
He actually just called me one day out of the blue, just telling me that he had something to tell me, and that it might interest me and make a film about it. And I didn't, since I didn't know his story, this was unknown to me. So it was like, he said, we have to meet, I can't tell you. And I could hear in the sound of his voice that this was important. And I remember, I am Chilean, originally Chilean, and so is he. So I remember joking about what have you done? Yeah, and he said, yeah, I cannot tell you, we have to meet. And then when we met, then he filled me in with this tragic story about have lost his daughter, and that his grandchildren were now somewhere in north of Syria, and he was planning to actually go and get them because he didn't find any other solution. He didn't gain any help from no organization and no the government, no anyone. And he asked me straight out to follow him, to if I wanted to join him to make a documentation. He wanted this documented, even if it was not a film in the end. And I told him, I don't work as a journalist, and I don't think you will have any use of the material in a to do some leverage on the government or organizations, because I don't work in a activistic way or in a journalistic way. I work more narrative in a cinematic way.
Gotcha. So actually, Gorki, from the very beginning, when you were thinking about this documentation, did you plan a film that actually will be like the voice, will be also like a task to change the situation? Did you plan it as something that can help with the situation of Patricia?
No, I didn't. And it was just, as I tried to explain, that for me, to make a film, what is most relevant, it has to have an artistic core, and a narrative cinematic core, and when you have that in your hierarchy, then the necessity of that film being put out in this timeline of these children, it would have been either you make an activistic film, a journalistic film, as soon as you can to actually help Patricio in this in his struggle, or you wait until you actually sense you have a film that is a story that is more in depth, and that was the case that I was chasing, and I told him very sincerely that you will not be able to use this material to change your situation or the children, not in a year, see, because I work with features and there are longer processes and the financing. And he contacted me he said, I'm leaving as soon as I have a permit, you see? So, and there I was with no preparation, no experience in filming in former war zone or in conflict zones. And my permits, they were not ready either, you see? So it was very demanding, but he kind of said, I have contacted the TV already and they have made an interview, but what I want you to do is follow with me and document this, because he has this idea that this could end very badly, you see, and he would be in need of a document of a document in the sense what happened, how it happened, and to backtrack the events, and for that the material could be used like that also. He was not aiming to be part of a film like this, and to be honest, I didn't even know that this could be a film like we have managed to carve out a very cinematic and compelling story of this.
Yes, because when I was watching your film, to be honest, actually, I felt more like watching a dramatic feature thriller, because you build tension in a very incredible way. And I was curious all the time, is it like,
Thank you.
were you like trying to just like share your own experience with the viewers? Like you were also like put in the middle of the ocean. Actually, you were put in the very dangerous situation. So you probably felt this tension all over and all over and all over again and again and again. And I was just thinking about it, how much of telling this story is like, preparing in the editing process and achieving the aim you wanted to achieve, and how much is like putting your own experience into it and reversing your own feelings when you were preparing this story.
Yes, what I would like to carve out the story is really the editing. Is thanks to the editors, very good and both technically and in a humanistic way to see how can we find what is important for me also in fiction is not the physical continuity of a film, but the emotional continuity. And what we follow in this film, yes, it is, we are following a character and that character's emotional journey, because actually in terms of new information, there is no new information, because this happened 2 years ago. What you can see is a nowness in the film, is an urgency in the cause of I was there every moment. And the concept of the film was like, if I am going to be able to keep up with Patricia, that could leave in any moment or get a phone call, and that tension of not knowing what happened, it was for real. So I didn't have to kind of build it. But what is built is the sense of putting together the pieces, so you can feel it is long time, but is in the scope of a film, So, and that is good narration. And I would like to thank the editors, because I was so much part of this film and voluntarily, in the sense that I had to deal with the same stress and of course he was he is in a sense responsible for the children, is a victim of the situation, but I have to deal with the stress of filming and started to get more and more friend with him, and being more, how to say, also stress of the situation, because this was not only the experience of a filmmaker was new for me, it's also the experience of as a human being, that there are a lot of people trying to make it, I got a glimpse of how journalists, aid workers, they work so near this life and death. So this was a huge experience for me, that I could not be part of the editing as I usually had been if this was a written, a scripted drama. You actually have a vision, and there is you can follow it in the script. You know, this for me was nerve-wracking. It's the most how can I tell you, the most demanding thing I ever done and might do. I don't know, in terms of the psychological pressure to be present and to be able to communicate as a human being with another person in a very difficult situation, not overstep, not cross that line, but not take a step forward either as a filmmaker, because then you don't get the material that you needed. You have also to confront your main character, but at the same time, if I would going to act like a journalist all the time, then I would not have been granted that access that the film concept is so dependent of, to be able to be there at that moment when the good and the bad things happens. So there is no retelling, you see? So everything happens in front of you as a viewer.
I think that this is very interesting in terms of proportion. What I mean is that I believe that when you became the part of this project, when you started to make this documentary, I believe that for you the most important thing and your aim was to make this film. But in the time when you are closer and closer with Patricia, actually his case became like your case as well. So in terms of proportion, what is more important, like having the material for the film or like get this case done? I believe that this proportion, it had to be balanced all over and all over during the...
Yes. Mm-hmm. Each day, and sometimes by the hour, the decision had to be made again. But I made some kind of a pledge with Patricia that if he in some moment would need me and the children's, I'm sorry, it's just, and the children's life were at stake and I could make a difference, I would definitely help him and not, sorry, and help him in the way I could, because I don't think I could have been able to. It's still a good story if there is a tragic end to this, but if I could interfere in this, I was not prepared. Now I'm spoiling the film in a sense, but yeah, it is like that. My agreement with him is that if I have to do something and choose between filming and help you with the kids, I will help you with the kids. And that also granted me a closeness, you see, that we share, that he was able to share difficult moments with me and open up, so the viewer could be in my place, sitting beside him, and that, because that is what it is about, to tell this story in an emotional way, not telling about the story.
And Gorky, I wanted to ask you, because when you were editing this film, when you were like preparing the final material, I was like thinking all the time, like, what kind of thoughts did you have in mind when you were thinking about what kind of story you want to tell? Because I believe that like you had to have a lot of anger, you had to have like a lot of
there was
negative emotions about the justice system in Sweden, about the way how actually the family of Patricia was treated. But in the same time, you had to have this understanding about the situation. You had to have some thoughts about the arguments that comes from the Swedish sides about fighting with terrorism and etc. So how was it for you? How was it possible for you to like put up these elements together and bring the story that actually will help to explain the whole situation for the audience?
There were like certain points in this story that kind of one of them was a very big moment when I realized why it was so difficult to save these children, is because they were paying the price of the parents' crimes. They were having, they were being punished for something that the parents did, and it was very a sense of injustice, because children have their own rights, and that is our modern way of seeing the children. And I imagine that you guys being Polish, and you had the Germans, the Nazis. What happened to the children of the Nazis? Did they become Nazis? And how would they treated like 80 years ago? But now we have evolved, you see? So for me, when I realized this, that Sweden, a country that was not directly devastated by ISIS, if these children were treated by the Kurds and the people over there in Syria in a humane way, they were helping them, they were hosting them in their camps, why were they not even welcomed here, you know? So for me, when I understood that is when the children, the film also got the title, you see, Children of the Enemy, that is the core of it, because if they have been regular other children, they wouldn't have been so difficult to help them. So that also changed my mind. I could not be, and maybe I never were like neutral, in the sense that for me, I am on the side of the character, you see. I am not the journalist that also would interview the other counterpart to him, and they didn't want to be interviewed either. It's like, you see, no authority was not even there. They didn't want to appear. So every time he met an authority, it was like behind closed. I was not even allowed in the building sometimes because of the military restrictions and the checkpoints and that. So for me, it was the core was to follow him. What he encounters, you as an audience, you will also encounter. And my part in that was to question him sometimes in his role as a father, or as a grandfather in the future, or in the now. What are you going to do now? And but he was so proactive, so I had like just enough work just to cope with being with him and having the same pace, in the sense that I had to be ready for whatever he might come up to, you know, in terms of he could sweep like this, and he did also. So that is, I was not part in that sense of, hey, Gorky, do you think we should go to Syria today, or what do you think we should do? It was not we. He can say we sometimes because we were there together, but it is his deed that I followed. Another thing that I had is that I didn't want to interfere in the course of events, because that is in the sense that could be a tremendous responsibility as a filmmaker, and I didn't want to interfere, telling him, oh, can you go there with me and we stage some images and all that, because that could be the hours when something could happen, you see. And he was also drained out because other journalists asked him to do that. So I was the one that stayed and could record the conversation after he encountering with the other journalists, and got that depth in the conversation that others didn't get. So it's not a reportage in that sense. I'm not reporting on anything. I am maybe exposing him, but in a respectful way, so to say, because he is in a very delicate situation, and most of all, the children were in a very precarious situation. So everything had to be done according to that. That was the hierarchy in that sense.
Gotcha. And Gorky, in the end, I would like to ask you, do you think that actually your presence helped Patricia a lot? Like, do you think that actually the fact that you were always there, that you were near, that you were the person that he could share anything, any thoughts, any emotion, any doubts, was something that actually helped him and make him like a better fighter, or the person who can stand more than he could stand alone?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. That is a good question, but I don't think so, because he was so driven about this that he would have made that anyway. He would have coped. So I am amazed that he coped with it, and he is coping with it now because he has 7 grandchildren to take care of. You know, it's a lot of children, and he didn't even have this post-traumatic stress syndrome that I think I might have got. That's why when I thought of this, then I almost started to cry, you know, because when you remember some things, they were so strong, but he was always strong in a very special way. And that is what I think is very interesting, that you're not depicting a male hero character gender-wise as you usually see them depicted in audiovisual media around the world. You see, so he was like more of a grass straw. They don't break with the wind. They go like flat, and then stop. The wind stops, and they whoop again. So the trees that are like hard, they break. You know, that metaphor is very applicable for him, and maybe it was a little bit more fun in the sense that he has a sense of humor that is very Latin American, but it's not even Latin American, you know, it's every people that actually goes through a difficult thing, we can use humor, and you cannot have it alone. It's good to have someone else. Maybe in that sense, it was a little bit, it sounds really stupid because it was not funnier, but easier maybe, but no changing the course of events. I don't think so.
Gotcha. I know that we are running out of time, so let me just ask you the final question about how this experience changed you. What was the impact of all of these events for you yourself?
Yeah, for me as I told you, it was very traumatic. But now that it was like a crash course into this kind of filmmaking that other filmmakers do, and I have a so deep respect, not only for, this is my debut as a documentary filmmaker, of dealing with so important things as real humans is so invaluable. It's so, you have to cherish it so much, and it's so important that we, the world, also have documentary filmmakers that are so dedicated, and so it's, I don't know, I have more respect now a lot for documentaries, and it was an opening to what is happening down there, the rebuilding of that area, Syria. It was amazing. I saw also the good part of this, that people will prevail, love will prevail, you see, because the children are all right, they are growing up, and that dark part of their life will always be there, of course, but people like Patricia will also be there, and they are a way of, they are the source of inspiration for me and for others to actually make a difference, that one person make a difference. The aid workers working there, they make a difference. The journalists, they also make a difference. And so it's, for me, it was very encouraging also to make something that actually matters. And now I have made a film that actually matters, not in terms that they helped him, but will inspire, hopefully, others to take themselves seriously, in the sense that, yeah, you can also, why not, if you go all in for something because of love. Love is bigger than hate. And this is what I think Patricia has proven.
And that's the beautiful message at the end of our conversation. Gorki, thank you so much for finding the time for this conversation and apparently for making this great film. It's really incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the film Children of the Enemy, Gorki Müller, was here with us. So please share the news about his film. It's still available at the festival, so it's definitely worth to watch it. Thank you so much, Gorki.
Thank you very much, Artur. Goodbye. Bye, everyone.